right, I am refuting Eden's original claim on the drinking age. She claimed 18-year-olds can hold the responsibility of a lower drinking age. Her secondary claims were: 1, the United States makes males at the age of 18 enlist in a draft, which include the possibility of risking their lives, but these young men cannot make decisions related to alcohol. 2, 18-year-olds have held the responsibility to decide their whole future paths at this age, but are still seen irresponsible in the presence of alcohol. 3, other countries believe becoming an adult in the eyes of the law makes you eligible for all the benefits of society. My responses to the first claim: she argued that since a fresh adult at the age of 18 can join the military, vote, play the lottery, buy cigarettes, they should be able to legally consume alcohol. Including alcohol consumption in the list of rights is a reasoning flaw because alcohol is a drug and does not relate to most of the list. The National Institute of Drug Abuse states alcohol affects every organ in the drinker's body and can damage a developing fetus. Intoxication can impair brain function and motor skills. Heavy use can increase risk of certain cancer, stroke, and liver disease. It is harmful to young brains. Can't really make that decision. John McCardle, former president of Middlebury College, was cited in the original argument. The citation comes from a 60-minute story to the debate on lowering the drinking age. What McCardle says is not taken out of context, but is adamantly argued in the story. He's advocating return to the lower drinking age and uses a student death as an example. In the hazing activity, the alcohol poisoning of a student was not reported early enough to save its life. This is said to be because the student believed that they had alcohol. His argument is that if it was legal that they had alcohol, they would have reported the alcohol poisoning, the kid would have survived. In response, Chuck Hurley, executive director of Mothers Against Drunk Driving, says the inconvenient truth is that drinking age at 18 will cause more funerals. 900 families a year would have to bury a teenager. When the United States reduced its drinking age in the 70s, it was a public health disaster. Death rates in the states that reduced their drinking age jumped 10 to 40%, meaning that there was a reason the age was increased from 18 to 21. The death rates were high at the age before. As you change it back, the death rates are going to slide back down to 18 and lower. My response to the secondary claim is what was claimed was the second supporting claim was the presented argued that 18-year-olds are expected to decide their whole future, so they should not be seen responsible in the presence of alcohol. This is a generalization based off of when high school ends and college traditionally begins at 18. Not all 18-year-olds, at the least, know enough to have their whole futures planned. The National Council of Alcoholism and Drug Dependence says during this period, alcohol can present a special allure to some adolescents for many different reasons. Unfortunately, this attraction occurs at the very time adolescents may not be fully prepared to anticipate all the effects of drinking alcohol, and at a time when they are more vulnerable to certain of its adverse consequences. At the age of 18, people may not be able to appropriately decide what they should do for the rest of their life, let alone comprehend how to deal with the ramifications of consuming alcohol. It is argued that people under 21 binge drink because they're taking advantage of something that is not allowed. When they get their hands on it, they're going to go crazy. And that these people make up for 17% of the DUI arrests. This presents a flaw in reasoning and evidence. I did some research, and the CDC says although college students commonly binge drink, 70% of binge drinking involves adults aged 26 and older. So binge drinking is not exclusive to people under the age of 21. Another supporting piece of evidence was given stating that drunk driving is the highest in the 21 to 25 age group, and this is because of abusing something that people are new to or freshly accessible to. This support can be negated by the 60-minute story on lowering the drinking age. The story says that drunk driving and its fatalities are related to the drinking age. As the legal age changes, the age of impaired driving crashes changes with it. Again, it will slide back down to whatever age is legal. The third one is claimed that other countries believe becoming an adult in the eyes of the law makes you eligible for all benefits of society. It is accurate information that was presented. 61% of the countries in the world have a drinking age 18, and 12 of them are the age of 21. and that the United States has 1.4 million DUI arrests every year, in the UK 90,000 convictions. The information and reasoning presented for the third-party claim was sound. However, I did some research and found an argument online on idebate.org, and the problem is that even in the UK's low drinking age, they are still having the same problem as the US with having binge drinkers, and the lowering the age did not seem to help because that's what they did. And it's come up, there was a link from that debate to what's happening in France, and the lower you move the age, their friends, their younger friends all give alcohol. In conclusion, there is not enough evidence for lowering the drinking age from 21 to 18. Alcohol has an effect on the body that may not be appropriate for someone younger than 21 years old, and from binge consumption, accidents and fatalities at all age groups are caused.
All right, the structural stuff is fine. The whole first point is really a value argument about what's appropriate in this situation, and I think that you want to mention that it's outside of the purview of the assignment. Now, if you want to make an argument about values, I think there are plenty of arguments to be had here. The notion that that somebody is supposed to be of age at a particular status in life, or that people who, for instance, join the military accept a particular risk. I think that there is, kind of this assumption that people ought to have certain particular kinds of rights there. But I think the counter argument that you make on this point is the valid one, and it's the one that they made back in the 1970s. The original decrease in the drinking ages occurred for the exact same reasons that were said in, we got the draft going on there. By the way, we don't have a draft now. That might be something that you want to point out. No, they can't. They can't be drafted and then not be prohibited from drinking because we don't draft anybody anymore. We got an all-volunteer force and have had so for 45 years. All right. The original lowering of the drinking age in the 1970s occurred because we lowered the age at which people could vote. There was an argument that said we have all these guys going to Vietnam and they can't have anything to drink, so we ought to maybe make an adjustment. And what happened when we did? Boom. Then you've got the evidence that says, here's what happened. So the notion that they can act responsibly, there are problems with that. We know that there are problems with that. We've seen those kinds of problems, and it's been demonstrated in that particular situation. The response to the McCardle quote is okay. I do think it gets a little bit off track of the issue that's being discussed, either from the advocate's point of view and from your point of view. I don't know that it demonstrates the issue that's being talked on that first point concerning responsibility. And responsibility is also on the second point also. I thought you had pretty good arguments on those sorts of issues. I like the binge drinking argument in particular that suggests that binge drinking is not primarily accounted for by some forbidden fruit activity that's going on here. We know that people binge drink all over the place. On the third point, you mentioned the similar issue about binge drinking, and I think I would have liked to have seen some data on that particular point. It sounds to me like you're kind of relying on a secondary aggregate source to give you the information on that third point. And it was just like I've seen some of the data. The truth of the matter is, when people cite Europe as an example, they got a lot of problems over there from people drinking too much, and it's not as if there aren't problems. So I think you've got the right argument going on there. All right, thank you. Well, I'd like to invite all of you to stay longer, but we're out of time. Are you okay with waiting?
Yeah.
Would you prefer to go tonight?
No.
All right, we'll wait. We'll wait. No. We're supposed to be finishing at 40 to 45. That's kind of where we are, you
There
know.
goes my opening. I was gonna say, for those of you that stayed for me.
Oh, have we been losing people?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does seem like there are fewer people here.
There's about 10 of us left.
Does seem a little bit thinner in here than when we started. But we'll have you first on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Although, like, there was definitely people that, like, I spoke on the first day and my referee group did not speak today.
Well, that happens. We filled our time, so I'm not going to jump on anybody for the most part. But we have to go a little bit faster on Wednesday.